What if the queen of fashion never really left? What if Miranda Priestly has just been watching, waiting, and planning her return to a world that she once ruled with a single look? The Devil Wears Prada 2 isn't just a sequel, it's a power move, and now, the first look at this long-awaited return is finally here, hinting at a story where revenge, legacy, and ambition collide in a fashion war bigger than ever before. Asterisk, it all begins with a whisper, the kind that spreads through the fashion industry like wildfire. Someone saw her, Miranda Priestly, at the Chanel show in Paris, sitting front row, sharped, silent, dressed in white. She hadn't made a public appearance in years, not since the whispers began that Runway was moving on without her. Some said she retired. Others believed she was quietly pushed out by younger voices demanding change. But if Miranda was done, why does her name still strike fear into assistants and editors alike? Why does her brief appearance set off a ripple effect across the industry? That's where the first look at The Devil Wears Prada 2 kicks in, with that slow build of tension. As if something big is coming back, we see a glimpse of New York in chaos. A fashion week isn't what it used to be. Social media influencers now sit front row, pushing designers toward viral trends rather than timeless elegance. Runway magazine, once a Bible, is now struggling to keep up. The boardroom is filled with younger execs who talk about rebranding, expansion, and digital-first strategies. But there's one problem. Their biggest advertisers are losing faith. Their audience is divided. Their identity is fading. That's when someone, maybe someone bold, be someone desperate, picks up the phone and calls the one person who built the empire in the first place. The message is simple. We need Miranda. The trailer cuts between sharp images, polished shoes hitting the pavement, a lipstick being twisted open, a page being torn from a runway layout, and then we hear it. That voice, calm, sharp, devastating. Florals? For spring? Groundbreaking. The line that once made us laugh now feels like a warning. Miranda Priestly is back, and this time, she's not here to play nice. She's not here to mentor. She's here to take control. But what's different now? The fashion world isn't the same place she once ruled. It's faster, louder, more chaotic. Trends live and die in a TikTok cycle. Brand loyalty is fleeting. Luxury doesn't mean exclusivity anymore, it means engagement. And yet, that's exactly why Miranda's return is so powerful. She represents discipline, tradition, and vision. And while some hate her for it, others miss it more than they're willing to admit. The world went digital, but it lost its soul. And Miranda might just be the one to bring that soul back, even if she has to burn everything to do it. The first scenes hint that Miranda hasn't changed much in her style, but her strategy. That's evolved. She's more calculated, smarter, older, but even more dangerous. She knows how to manipulate the media now. She understands how to pull strings from behind the curtain. She's not walking back into the office and asking for her desk. She's walking into the boardroom with a new plan, one that shocks everyone. And in true Miranda fashion, she doesn't ask for permission. She just takes what's hers. The tension rises when she sees what Runway has become. A hollow version of itself? Glossy, yes. Trending, maybe. But not legendary. Miranda doesn't just want her job back. She wants her legacy back. And to do that, she'll have to go to war with the very people she once mentored. Maybe even go against the system she'll helped build. This isn't about fashion anymore. It's about power, identity, and the battle between influence and integrity. By the end of this first act, reviewers are left with one thing clear. Miranda's return isn't a cameo. It's a takeover. Queen is back. This time she's rewriting the rules of fashion. One look, one headline, and one perfectly timed move at a time. Asterisk Andy Sachs walks the streets of Brooklyn now. Far from the glass towers of Runway and the icy stairs of high fashion. Her clothes are still elegant, but no longer designer, more curated with purpose than curated for trend. Andy's journey since the events of the first film hasn't been a fairy tale. She left Runway with confidence, determined to find her voice as a journalist. And for a while, she did. She worked for respected magazines, told stories that mattered, and even published a best-selling memoir. But print media isn't what it used to be. Her latest editorial was shelved to make space for paid brand collaborations. Her editor wants content that clicks instead of writing with heart. Andy smiles, nods, and walks out of the meeting room. Again, it's happening again. The career she once rebuilt is slipping into the same patterns that made her leave Miranda's world. But this time, something pulls her back. A headline. Miranda Priestly returns to Runway. And just like that, Andy's past isn't in the past anymore. Emily Charlton, on the other hand, is thriving in a way no one expected. Once Miranda's overworked and underappreciated assistant, Emily has evolved into a force of her own. She runs her own PR firm now, edgy, high-end, and unapologetic. Celebrities, designers, and luxury brands all fight to be on her client list. She's no longer chasing coffee or dry cleaning. She's being chased by fashion houses wanting her expertise. But underneath her sleek confidence, Emily still carries the scars of her runway days. There's a hunger in her, not just to succeed, but to outdo the very woman who once ruled her world. When she hears of Miranda's return, she's furious, intrigued, and oddly excited. She doesn't know what it means yet, but she does know this. The war isn't just about Runway anymore. It's personal. Miranda, meanwhile, never truly left. Even after stepping away from the magazine, she remained a name that whispered through fashion weeks, red carpets, and boardrooms. She spent years building silent influence, mentoring from the shadows, consulting for elite houses, even writing a secret memoir that may or may not be published under a pen name. Her image became a symbol of perfection, but it was also used, twisted, and sometimes forgotten in favor of younger, louder voices. Now that she's back, it's not just because she misses the spotlight. It's because she sees a storm coming. The fashion world is spinning out, led by trends instead of taste, and Miranda believes she's the only one who can fix it. This time, she won't be playing by the old rules. She'll be making new ones. What makes this sequel so captivating is how much these three women have changed, and yet how connected they still are. Andy tried to run from Miranda's world, but she became a version of her anyway, only in flats with a softer edge. Emily turned her trauma into empire, but she still flinches when her phone rings in the same tone Miranda once used. And Miranda? She walks into every room like she never left it. But deep down, even she knows that power, once lost, is never easy to get back. Especially when the people you trained have learned how to use it themselves. The tension between these characters is electric. The trailer hints at unexpected reunions, Andy and Emily crossing paths at a fashion gala, Miranda standing alone in the shadows watching them. A whispered conversation between Andy and Miranda at a charity auction, sharp, cold, and yet full of history. Emily making bold moves in the press to undercut Miranda's return. The trailer doesn't show too much, but it gives just enough to make it clear this is not a reunion. This is a collision. In this new world, they each have something to prove. Andy wants control of her voice. Emily wants to rule without a shadow over her. And Miranda wants her throne back. But at what cost? As the trailer teases shots of power lunches, boardroom battles, late-night calls, and fashion statements that feel like declarations of war, the message becomes clear. The past may be behind them, but it never really let go. And in The Devil Wears Prada too, old wounds, old rivals, and old ambitions are all making a comeback, stitched into the seams of every look. Every headline and every glance that says more than words ever could. Asterisk, the battlefield has shifted. The runways are still polished, the lights still blinding. But the fashion world Miranda once ruled with precision and poise now bows to a different kind of queen, one who rules from a phone screen. The Devil Wears Prada too, this isn't just a story about comebacks. It's a war between eras. The trailer teases this shift in brutal contrast. One moment, Miranda stands silently in front of a legacy-filled wall of vintage Vogue covers, and the next, a Gen Z fashion influencer. Live streams from backstage in sneakers and a hoodie, shouting about disrupting the aesthetic. The tension isn't subtle, it's loud. glitter-covered rebellion against the quiet power Miranda built her career on. At the heart of this conflict is a new character, Ava Stone. Young, driven, and dangerously popular. She's not a designer, not a journalist, not even traditionally trained. She's a self-made icon born from viral videos and fashion TikToks, with millions of followers who hang on to her every word. Her brand, bold, inclusive, chaotic, and fearless. Industry adores her because she represents everything fresh, now and next. But Miranda sees her differently, as a symbol of everything wrong with the current state of fashion. No discipline, no history, no depth. Just clicks, likes, and fast fame. Ava, of course, doesn't fear Miranda. In fact, she sees her as outdated. The ghost of a gatekeeper who refuses to accept that the gates have been torn down. The trailer builds this clash slowly. We see Ava's campaign launch go viral overnight. While Runway struggles to get engagement on its newest issue, Miranda sits through meetings where executives suggest rebranding her image to appeal to younger markets. One even suggests starting a fashion podcast. The look Miranda gives in return could freeze fire. These moments paint a clear picture. The world has changed. Not everyone thinks there's space for the old guard anymore, but Miranda isn't the only one feeling the pressure. Andy, now in her mid-30s, finds herself caught between two realities. She understands Miranda's frustration, the decline in quality, the obsession with speed. But she also sees value in what Ava's generation is doing, making fashion more accessible, more democratic. Andy begins to question, is she clinging to the past just because it feels familiar, or is there truly something worth saving? Emily sees opportunity. She doesn't care who's right or wrong, she cares who wins. Her firm is already working with new wave brands, and Ava wants her expertise. Emily walks the tightrope between loyalty and ambition. But her silence in the face of Miranda's frustration speaks volumes. The assistant, once terrified to disappoint, is now the woman who might just help dethrone the queen. The trailer leans into these contrasts. We see a runway cover shoot cold, elegant, classic, intercut with a behind-the-scenes Ava shoot that's loud, diverse, raw, and unfiltered. Miranda at a black tie gala. Ava at a streetwear drop with hundreds of fans. Andy sitting alone in her apartment, watching both play out on screens. The message is clear. The world is moving fast, and not everyone can keep up. What makes this part of the story so powerful is that the conflict isn't just about fashion, it's about identity. Miranda isn't fighting Ava just to save Runway. She's fighting for relevance, for meaning, for the belief that greatness requires time, effort, and pain, not just followers. Ava, on the other hand, isn't trying to destroy the old world. Out of disrespect, she truly believes fashion should be for everyone, not just the elite. It's a generational clash, not villain versus hero, but two powerful visions going head to dash head, and yet both women are starting to see the cracks. Ava faces burnout, trolls, brand pressure to keep going viral. Miranda sees herself becoming the villain in a world that once worshipped her. Andy becomes the bridge, the voice of reason, but even she's unsure if she's ready to choose a side. This part of the film sets the tone for what's to come. It's not just who gets to sit at the top of the fashion world, but what that world even means anymore. Can the past and present coexist? Can tradition and innovation work together? Or must one fall for the other to rise? The Devil Wears Prada 2 isn't just continuing a story, it's updating its entire soul. In this chapter, the collision of the old gods and new icons might be its most explosive yet. Asterisk, the game changes in Paris. It always does. That city has witnessed the rise and fall of fashion empires, and now, once again, it becomes the battleground for something bigger than runway shows. In The Devil Wears Prada 2, Paris is no longer just the backdrop for a couture climax, it's the emotional heart of the story, where ambition, ego, and unfinished business come crashing together in ways that can't be undone. The trailer builds toward this moment with slow tension. A voiceover, probably Miranda's, says something razor-sharp like, "Sometimes evolution requires elimination." Cut to shots of Paris, the Seine glowing at sunset. Paparazzi flashes outside a grand fashion house. Andy stepping out of a car looking unsure but powerful. And Miranda walking into a towering glass building like she owns every inch of it. Because maybe she still does. This time, it's not just Fashion Week. It's Miranda's last move. A bold new show. One final pitch. The future of Runway, and possibly her own legacy, hinges on what happens next. But underneath all the glitz, the story gets personal. Deeply personal. Andy, for the first time, isn't just watching Miranda, she's standing opposite her. The girl who once scrambled for lattes is now being asked to write the profile piece that could define Miranda's return. At first, Andy thinks she can handle it. But the moment she sits across from Miranda again, the old pressure returns. That silence, that glare, that feeling that she'll never be enough. Yet this time, Andy pushes back. The trailer shows them having a quiet but intense exchange. Miranda compliments her, then immediately cuts her down. But Andy doesn't flinch. She's changed. And Miranda sees it. Emily, meanwhile, is also in Paris, but not by accident. She's been invited to speak on a luxury innovation panel, hosted by one of Ava Stone's companies. It's a massive honor. But when she finds out Miranda's big comeback show is happening the same week, the old stress returns. The questions. The pressure. The desire to prove herself to the woman who never said, "Well done." We see a scene just seconds of Emily alone, looking at an old scar on her foot from the day she twisted her ankle, running errands for Miranda years ago, a symbol that even success can't erase the past. And yet, instead of running from it, Emily decides to face it head-on. She makes a move, a daring one. What unfolds next is a masterclass in power plays. Miranda goes head-to-head with the Runway board, pitching a total brand reset, not watered down for younger audiences, but bolder, sharper, and even more elite. She proposes creating a new international edition, a complete line of curated media, and a return to print as an object of desire. The room is skeptical. But Miranda, ever the master, doesn't ask for approval. She simply tells them what's going to happen, but then Ava Stone walks in. Yes. The trailer hints that Ava has been secretly negotiating with the board for her own publication deal. It's offering a younger, high-engagement brand that could either rival Runway or absorb it completely. The board is divided. Suddenly, Miranda isn't just fighting for relevance, she's fighting for survival. And it's not a fight she can win with just looks and legacy anymore. In the middle of it all, Andy writes. Her article, titled "The Devil Returns," becomes the talk of the city. It's not a takedown, and it's not a tribute. It's raw, honest, and torn between admiration and pain. Andy writes about what it was like to survive Miranda and what it means to see her fight again. But the real twist? Andy doesn't publish it, at least not yet. She hands it to Miranda. A moment of quiet respect, chance to read her own reflection before the world does. Miranda's reaction? We don't see it, just a pause. And then she walks away. Paris brings out the extremes in everyone. The ambition, the vulnerability, the truth. The trailer flashes through scenes. Emily walking out of a deal with her head held high. Ava crying in a car, overwhelmed by her own rise. Miranda standing on a dark balcony, staring at the Eiffel Tower, alone. And Andy, in the final seconds, standing between both generations, not lost, but clear-eyed, finally understanding what power costs and what it's worth. The Devil Wears Prada too may be about fashion. But Paris proves it's more about evolution. About women who shaped each other in painful, powerful ways. About letting go of the old to make space for something new, even if it hurts. And as the music swells and the screen fades to black, one thing is clear: this isn't just a sequel. It's a reckoning. Asterisk.